Hello, Michael.
Hi,
Nice to
Raymond.
have you here.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you, Raymond, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I got to know you from David, who is my previous guest,
Right?
and it so happens both of you are very good friends.
That's right.
And when I heard about your story, I find it quite interesting because for someone like you who has your current achievement and you were also being bullied when you were young,
Yep.
and it's a long period, 7, 8 years.
Yep.
So I felt that it's really good to have someone like you to share your story.
Thank you.
Yeah. And maybe we can start off with who you are today. Like, what's your achievement? From what I know, you shared the stage with Sir Richard Branson
Yep.
and also the United States ex-President Obama. He
He
joined.
visited one of my training sessions. We
Ah.
were doing a leadership program
Hmm.
for the toughest crowd I've ever had to work with so far, kids between the age of 8 to 12 years old. And it was done in Malaysia. And at that time, President Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah, that was the time he visited.
He visited Malaysia,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Well, now today is the 44th president, right?
Yeah.
So he actually came and visited Malaysia, and he was able to squeeze in 30 minutes to
Wow.
drop by my leadership program for kids, which again, it was something quite rare. I don't usually work with kids, but because it was requested by one of our clients, Microsoft at that time, and they gave me that amazing opportunity. They said, Michael, if we could invite President Obama to come and visit your leadership training, would you be willing to do it? And I was ready to do it even for free. I mean, not a lot of people around the world can say, hey, the President of the United States, especially Barack Obama, I'm a huge fan, come to visit a training. And then what I did not expect was when Microsoft said, President Obama loves kids, so you'll be working with kids. It was an interesting experience, but I really enjoyed it. And the president is really tall, I can tell you. He has natural charisma. The moment he walked into the room, it stunned me. I literally could not speak for the next 20, 30 seconds. I remember the Secret Service had to do that little hand sign to tell me to please start talking because the president is here, right? And then I forced myself to start talking again, you see, to start running the leadership program again. So Raymond, since you've asked what I do, like I said, I run leadership programs. I help people in companies to be more productive, more profitable, and happier in their jobs by upskilling them. I do that through my company, Thriving Talents, where we have been around since the year 2012, and we have been able to expand our training, coaching, and consulting footprint across 41 countries around the world. Being a Malaysian brand, there you go, Malaysia Boleh, and we serve 30% of the Fortune 500 companies and brands around the world. And I'm very grateful. So when Obama came to my training, it was a personal fulfillment for me because I'm such a huge fan of his work. But more so, it was a testament that a Malaysian brand led by Malaysian talents like myself and my team in Thriving Talents can indeed get global recognition. And the rest is history. We have been doing training since then, working with people to develop leaders, working with people to develop salespeople, because making money is important. And at the same time, working with people to ensure that their employees are happy at what they're doing at work. So we do that by providing team building services, event organizing services for our clients. And I'm very happy to be blessed to do what I'm passionate about, which is training.
When you talk about making sure that employees are also happy, how do you do that for them? Can you expand a little bit more?
Well, we go into companies. We speak to their relevant leaders, most probably the human resource manager or the learning and development manager. And we would go in to understand what are the top 3 concerns that the company feels that their staff need to have. It could be, companies could say, oh, I wish my staff would know how to handle conflicts better. I wish my staff would be more outspoken. I wish my staff would just have a little bit of fun in the midst of all of our busy work. So we would then design programs for the company where it'll be curated and delivered by either myself or my team. I am supported by 60 trainers, coaches, and consultants. So we have people of different age, different expertise to come in to cater to different clients' needs. We design the program. The client would then send their employees or their staff to us for a day or two. And then at the end of the day, we measure how much they have developed from our program and how happier they have become as a result of our program. And because running my company, Thriving Talents, is what we are known for. Thriving Talents is a HRD Corp, Human Resource Development Corporation certified training provider, in the sense that we can literally guide organizations to claim levy that they contribute to this government agency known as HRD Corp to allow their staff to develop, to upskill themselves, and ultimately be happier in their work. Because I'm going to wrap this up to explain a little bit about what we believe in. When your employees or your staff know how they can be productive, how they can be more profitable in their work for the company, how they could contribute more meaningfully, it would result them feeling higher self-worth. And when they feel higher self-worth, we can see they will feel happier at work. And that is what we are advocating. That is what I've been doing passionately and professionally over a decade now.
That's amazing.
Well, it's interesting. You started our chat here mentioning an episode in my life about me being bullied.
Yeah.
And I think the many things that I do in my life right now, the courses that I believe in, the mindset that I have, the people whom I mentor, all these drive for me to do what I'm doing today, whether I like it or not, whether fortunate or unfortunately, can be traced back to those darker, younger days when I was bullied. Except I'm grateful for some miracle reason, God or the universe decided to bless me with this realization that even though I was bullied for close to a decade in my life, since I was a child, all throughout my schooling life, but I did not continue to live with that victim mentality. I recognized that I was a victim. I recognized that I had certain disadvantages, Raymond. But with a stroke of luck, a miracle, as I mentioned earlier, I managed to flip that mindset. And I started asking, yes, I was once a victim. I would now proclaim that I will not forever be a victim, but how can I be a victor? And being a victor here means, are there any proactive steps that I can take? Of course, during that time was during my schooling years that would propel me from being a bully victim to a contributive member of society. And I'm very grateful. There were certain decisions that I made during my younger years, which I'll be more than happy to share with all of your listeners here today.
Yeah, I think it would be good if you're open to share, of course, if you're comfortable.
Sure.
On the childhood part, because I feel like a lot of us, we do share some difficult childhood experience.
Yep.
And all of us see it differently. It's like probably something that you experienced to me, maybe I don't understand, maybe I didn't go through. Like what I went through, you didn't go through. But having known that someone else also been through something difficult and how they managed to come out of it, I think it would be very helpful for those who are struggling, or it's those maybe who are unable to recognize that, oh, actually I experienced something bad when I was young. And I choose to shut it off. I choose to close it up because I don't want to face it. And I feel it's very good that you're someone who is open to face it and to become who you are today.
You know, Raymond, there are 3 points that I wish to share here. Point number 1, because of my somewhat positioning or branding in the industry right now, every time when I share about my darker past, people have cautioned me. They're saying that, Michael, you are now an established global speaker. You speak to CEOs, entrepreneurs, world leaders across 41 countries. And Every time when you bring up your darker past, will it affect your brand? Will it make people think, oh, this Michael Teo, actually, he's quite weak, he's not as strong? But I believe there's power behind vulnerability. And I believe a lot of the things that I enjoy today, inspiring, impacting people positively, it all comes from that realization that when I was in the darker parts of my life, that I was able to flip. I was able to shift my mindset, and that made all the difference. So I want to be vulnerable here today. That's number one. The second response I'd like to share is this. Some of our listeners tuning in right now may be thinking, it's a story about a bully victim. All of us get bullied. That's the past. For all of you listeners, you may be thinking, oh, I'm working a 9-to-5 job now. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO. I have a family. That's great. But I'm a believer that how you do anything often reflects how you do everything. So why do I say that? Yes, it may be a story about me being bullied as a child, as a schoolgoer when I was young. But whatever principles that helped me snap out of a victim mentality to become a victor mentality still applies in our day-to-day lives with me even today as an adult with a young family, a team of 25 employees representing 60 trainers and coaches around the world. So you're going to realize that. So I'll be sharing some universal principles that all of you can use as well. The third response that I'm going to share right here is, I think when you're traumatized, and I'm using this word very loosely, when you're traumatized, even though for me, I've been saying how I shifted my mentality from a victim to a victor. At times, the universe or life throws back at you situations and feelings that you will feel, or at least in my case, you would feel that you're still being bullied. Like, honestly, I still feel I am being bullied in different situations. In 2018, I had a very bad breakup that I was immensely sad. Right? I thought I was so successful in my career, in my business, yet I failed in my relationship. Those same feelings that used to haunt me when I was a victim of bully came back to me. And there I was, 2018, I was an adult. In the year 2020, when COVID hit, you all would remember that, the pandemic, my business nearly failed. Again, that feeling came back saying that, oh, Michael, you see, you're being bullied. Except in 2018, I was being bullied by the relationship. In the year 2020, well, I was being bullied by COVID, right? So again, it's me also reminding myself that I've done well to shift my mindset when I was being bullied in school, and to keep reminding myself that I can still use the same universal principles to address different situations that may give me that same emotion that I'm being bullied. If this makes sense. Universal principles. Something applicable to all of our listeners out there today.
Like the patterns.
Yeah, like the patterns. Exactly, Raymond. Exactly. That's right. That's right. So I thought if I would just like to start, I grew up in Penang. I'm a northerner, as they say. I went to a government school. I love my family. I love my grandparents and my parents. I grew up with them. We come from a middle-income family. But as early as I can remember, since kindergarten, 6 years old, I was bullied from kindergarten all the way up to high school. You can imagine that. And I was bullied primarily because I was weak in sports. And I was bullied primarily also because I'm often compared to my friends, where they tend to say, oh, Michael, you're not from a rich family. You couldn't afford many things. And that's fine. I need to give credit to both my grandparents and parents. They loved me a lot. They loved me and my brother a lot. And they did their best to give us what we can afford at that time. But the bullying came to a point where not only was I hurled insultive remarks, not only was I beaten up, but at the same time, isolation was something that I experienced as well. Like, no one in school would hang out with me, and that takes a toll as a young kid.
How bad was it?
I mean, I strive to become a people pleaser.
Oh, literally no friends at all.
I have friends,
Mm-hmm.
but then by the nature of association, those friends of mine would also get beaten up and insulted because they were hanging out with me.
Oh,
So what happened was they also stayed away from me.
poor them.
So poor them, right? Yeah. But of course, when I was really young, I could not brain that. I'm like, no, what?
course.
Why not? Right? Let's form our own clique. And then when the cooler guys, when they come and they beat us up or they hurl insultive remarks to us, that was pretty bad.
How old were you that time?
Oh wow! I mean, 6 years old. I mean, the bully.
Since 6 years old.
Yeah, in kindergarten, right?
All the way.
All the way, yeah.
Right.
So I think maybe when I was younger, people see this face and they're like, this face can bully one, right? And at that time I was chubbier as well, and I think I really got bullied because it is so obvious to see my weakness. If you put me on a track field and you ask me to run the track, right, I'll be the slowest runner. I'll be the one running, gasping for air. My parents actually thought I had asthma. I do not. And I did not at that time. I'm just such a slow runner, right? And people would just laugh, right? And I think it was during that time where if you're good in sports, you're the cool kid. If you're bad in sports, no one wants to associate themselves with you, right? So this carried on from kindergarten to primary school all the way up to high school. Right, because some of my friends from kindergarten went to the same primary school like me, and then they did well in we still had UPSR that time, Standard 6, right? And then I went to the same high school that they also went to, right? So it's like, oh goodness, here we go again. But the bullying intensified when I was in high school. Why? You see, when I was in kindergarten and when I was in primary school, it was a single-sex school. So you have nothing to prove. Not that much to prove. But the moment I stepped into high school, it was co-ed.
Yeah.
Now, all these bullies, all my male friends, they're like, hey, let's pick on Michael because now we can show our muscle to the girls, right? So, I got it really bad. Okay. And then at the age of 15, that was when I said, enough is enough. And I said, if I can't do any sports, I can't run to save my life, I can't play basketball. If I play football, the football will kick me. Right? Yeah, really. So what sports can I do? Right? So what do you think is a sport that you would do if you were in my position? I can't play badminton, I can't play basketball, football. What sport do you think you'll do if you were me, Raymond?
All kind of sport also cannot do. Chess.
Okay.
Chess.
That's the interesting thing. Chess, right? People have said, oh, Michael, it's chess.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say we take chess out of the equation. Okay, a sport that involves your physical body.
A sport that involves your physical body.
A recognized sports.
Using your mouth for all kind of sports.
Using mouth. I hope we're using.
Speaking is speaking.
No, it was not a sports at that time. I don't think it's still a sports today. But it's okay. So I'll just share this.
But just now you mentioned cannot run.
Okay, interesting. So I take that back. Can run.
Oh, okay.
Can run because that's the only thing I can do, right? Can run, marathon, jogs or whatnot. But I'll just share. It was 100 meters sprint running. Now, why did I choose 100 meter sprint running? It's a straight line. You just run for 100 meters. And I know when I participated in such a sport, I'm going to lose anyway. But my intention was simple. I don't want to win. I just want to show people, especially those who bullied me, that I can run. That I can run.
You want to prove yourself.
Yeah. But not prove myself to win, no. Prove myself to say, I can run.
You can do that.
I can at least run like any other human being. I'll be the last in the sports, right? In the event. So I trained for 2 months at my school field. Right after 2 months, it was it was our sports day. And I remember 100 meter sprint running. The referee blew the whistle and I ran. 2 months worth of hard work with all these years of pent up retribution. Like, I'm going to show all of you that I can do it, right? I can at least run. Raymond, guess what happened? I'll give you a few selection, and maybe for all of our audience listening to this as well, our listeners, you can take a guess too. A, the universe was on my side. I won the first ever race in my life, and it changed my life. B, I got last. But at least I showed all those bullies that I can run. And I'm not going to submit to their bullying anymore. Or C, I didn't even complete the race. Which one?
I would say normally would think about you want to work for what you want, which is your goal was the second one.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just to fulfill that destiny.
Yes.
I may not have won the race because physically I cannot. I've already shared the context with all of you. I'm so bad in sports, right? So it's B, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a subpar Pixar Disney movie storyline. If you want the best Pixar Disney movie storyline, you would have gone with A. Heroes ending, yay! But no, none of that happened.
Which I'm quite realistic with because doesn't sound like I can make it.
Oh boy.
Not to put you down.
What if I shared with you it was C? I did not even finish the race.
What happened?
So some people would have guessed, say, oh, Michael, you chickened out. Some people who have known me, they say, oh, did you got yourself disqualified? For those of you who are listening, and Raymond, if you can help me out here as well, if I could get you to just use your left hand. Your left hand? Yeah, just
my left hand.
Yeah, your left hand. Sorry, your left hand. And I want you to locate your left knee. You all remember where your left knees are, right? For those of you listening, touch your left knee. Give it a nice massage. I want you to hold on to that left knee. Hold it, right? You see that little lump there, right? It's like a kneecap.
Yeah.
That whole thing, I want you to adjust it to the left.
Cannot.
It's
hard.
It's hard, right?
Yeah.
Well, mine popped and went to the left. And I fell after just taking 2 steps.
Oh my God.
And I cannot get up. And here's the funny thing.
Steps.
Just 2 steps.
Oh my goodness.
Mud all over my face. And I still remember that time, we have this Guru Pendidikan Jasmani, PJ teacher. And I remember at that time, the PJ teacher running to me and I thought he's going to give me some of those motivational quotes, like, Michael, I believe in you, get up. But no, he said, jangan bangun, jangan bangun. He's like, don't get up. And the whole crowd stood up, not to give me a standing ovation, but they were busybody. They were looking at, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
The race just started, the referee blew the whistle and he's there, right? And I was there. I can't feel my left leg. Because my tendons were all torn, my ligaments were all torn, my left knee came out, right?
Oh my God.
And they had to pause the sports day. It was so embarrassing. And, it's interesting. No disrespect to Pengakak Scouts of Malaysia, right? But some of those bullies who bullied me, they are in the Scouts. So they were volunteering in the field and they came up to me and they're like, running also cannot. Running also your knee came out.
They said that to you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they had to pause the sports day. Ambulance came in, fetched me to the Bukit Mertajam Government Hospital. Bukit Mertajam is in the mainland of Penang. That's where I'm from. And I remember the doctor telling my mom was all in tears. She rushed from work to come and see me. The doctor said, I'm just a housemanship doctor. Doing my housemanship, right? I don't dare to touch your son. This is quite severe. Can you please ship your son off to a private hospital? And I remember my mom was in tears. She said, how can we afford it? And then the doctor said, that's, we can't help.
Yeah.
We don't know. You want to wait for the real doctor. Let's say the more experienced doctor to come. Your son would have to wait here. We will give him, anti-pain pills, but he would have to tahan.
Yeah.
So no, my mom and then later my dad came and they said, no, we will find a way to afford it. Then the ambulance, government hospital ambulance brought me to Island Hospital. For those of you from Penang, Island Hospital is one of the most expensive private hospital. And I remember that time my mom kept asking my dad, how are we going to afford it? My dad said, we will find a way.
Yeah.
So I was in Island Hospital and then they fixed up my knee. But the doctor already said that, hey, your son, right, his left leg will no longer be as strong as his right leg. It's just a fact because all the ligament is torn. And for those of you who know, your ligaments and your tendons for your knees and your joints are formed when you're in your mother's womb. Once it is torn, it has to be regrown. But the age of the tendon or ligament will be different from your other parts of the body already, which was formed in the mother's womb. So, of course, you can imagine at that time it was a very dark past. I went to school. After 2 weeks, I was in stretchers, right? I was walking around in stretchers. I was in a cast. And I thought the bullying would stop. It did not. People, I remember a classic example. They took those stretchers of mine, right? And I was studying. My class was located at the third floor of the school.
Oh my
They
God.
took my stretcher and they throw it down to
That's
the
terrible.
bottom ground. Right, it's really bad. It was really bad. And but again, I don't want to sound religious here, but
Yeah.
I need to give credit. Right, I do believe in a higher being. I believe in God. I believe in the universe. Somehow, at that very, very sad time, I got an idea, and I said, you know what, God, if doing sports is not your will for me, let me do other things. So that was the time where I started volunteering. I started stepping up for public speaking competitions, drama competitions, business plan competitions, debating competition, and I started honing my skills. And then the rest is history. I started representing Penang as a state, Malaysia as a country to international competitions. I started getting noticed by the world's largest companies, Sony, Intel, Microsoft, and I was a student. And then who would have thought this once upon a time victim of bully would gone on to receive scholarship and sponsorships to further his studies. I studied in New Zealand for my degree. I went for courses in Harvard, Stanford, INSEAD, all on either sponsorship or scholarship, right? And I worked with some of the most exciting, largest companies in the world before I decided to start my own business, Thriving Talents. If you think about it, Raymond, it all comes full circle, right? I'm now in the business where I help people in companies to upskill themselves, to see that they have higher self-worth, to contribute, to be profitable for their stakeholders and for themselves. And in the end, find happiness in what they do. Again, it really sounds like a classic Pixar, Disney hero story, right? But I want to share this with all of you that I've had more recent dramas, like I mentioned, my breakup, my business nearly going under in the year 2020, that brought back the ghosts, these feelings that haunt me when I was being bullied, just in a different way. I just hope for all of you listening out there is don't give up. It's okay to look for help. Life is going to give you a lot of shit sometimes. But as long as you proactively look for help and not just say, this is my destiny, this is the end for me, you could turn things around.
Yeah. And I want to ask, back then, was it compulsory for you to join sports?
Yeah. Every week we had that one, for those of you remember, every week we had that 1 hour where you have to do sports. Right. And then the stress is unimaginable, especially when you're in different sports houses. For those of you remember, Rumah Kuning, Rumah Biru, Rumah Merah, right? You have to do sports. I'm not claiming that I'm an athlete, right? But at that time, I guess I was just surprised that even though I'm not good in sports, but it's so obvious I'm not good in sports, but people still bully me because of that. Because I became an easy target. Right? But I thank them because that gave me a lot of lessons that I still use today to be resilient in growing my business. Growing a business is not a walk in the park. We can maybe talk about that, and then I'll relate back certain universal principles as well that I've learned.
I mean, I'm just seeing a pattern here. It's a very, very small one. Like you mentioned, you only have to do sports for an hour in a week, and that has such a huge impact on your life. And I can clearly see that this impact has shaped you to become who you are today.
Oh yes,
because it's kind of like, even though it's just that 1 hour per week, but it kind of like affect you so much back then. And then even though it took a long time, like 8 years, but you finally break through, you saw a different light from it, you go different path, you go into different path, but you still had to do sports, right? That time, after you chose a different path. And once you chose a different path, you just never look back.